Welcome everyone to the first Botch Talk session. This is actually the first time we've had a voice channel on the Discord, and I'm so happy that there's so many people here with us right now. So I'm joined here by Lenny from the Botch Pit.
Hi.
Jura and Lynn.
Hello.
And they actually help run they do run a sister server that you guys may have known for our playthrough sessions. But Jura runs everything, and so does Lynn. They do an amazing job. But yeah, so let's talk about what are we doing here. So this is the first time that we've actually, not only had a voice channel on the Discord, but it's the first time we've directly involved the community that we've fostered here into anything that we've done like this, a community outreach almost type of session. And it's something we've kind of been planning on for a little while now. And with the recent events that have happened, I know Chris and Jura have mentioned it a week ago about potentially doing something where we all sat and talked, and we just kind of got together, and I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to do something like this. So again, this is think of the Botch Talk as more like in corporate America, the town hall meeting or the fireside chat. Basically, it's all these different individuals in an industry come together, and we all just discuss, current events, things that we've done, anything that we've learned, anything that we've enjoyed, whether that's, for us, any new tabletop games you've played, any expansions you've seen, no matter what it is. I thought it would be a good time to kind of get on and do that. In addition to that, the biggest thing that we wanted to recognize, especially with the first Botch Talk, is just how awesome a community you guys all are. It is very difficult when you start something like this to get a community not even a tenth of how awesome you guys are. The amount of stuff that you guys post, related not to just what we're doing, but you guys go off on your own tangents, and that's awesome to see. I not only feel that way, Chris does, Lenny does, Jura does, everyone does. It's really awesome that when I wake up every morning, there's like 10 messages waiting on the Discord, no matter what it is. It's always... Lenny? Always an awesome experience to have. And that's very rare. I'm not sure if you guys realize this, but a lot of the times when Discord servers, get together, in this type of industry, what we have here is something special. So I just want to take the time to thank all of you for being here, whether you're been here the first day it's been open or just joined 2 days ago. It's awesome that you're here. And again, just continue to contribute. Welcome everyone with open arms. And yeah, it's just so awesome to have all you guys here. So thank you, honestly. So some other things to touch on, more so Botch Pit stuff. Recently, we hit our 2,000 subscriber mark on YouTube, which is a major deal to us. When we hit the 1,000 subscriber mark, we're like, well, it's gonna take forever to hit 2,000. And it went by way faster than any of us anticipated. So again, thank you all for that. Not only the Discord members here, but our YouTube community that will be listening to this shortly. Thank you, honestly. And then also with YouTube, recent guides that we've done. I've done the Spring Court. That was the most recent one we've done. And just curious, who here has listened to it in the community?
Yes.
What did you think of it?
I liked it. It, as always, you deliver, descriptive information in a nice digestible packet that is over 22 minutes long. And I appreciate the attention to detail, even though the Spring Court is fucking garbage.
Well, I appreciate your honesty, Jura. And I guess, going forward, anyone who talks, just say your username. You don't have to say your real name, just so we know who to attribute this to. But it's when we do these guides, like we do our best to ensure that we cover all bases with it, to make sure that everyone's happy, that we don't leave anything out. It's very time consuming, but it's very rewarding once it's all done, especially those type of guides. And just as a heads up, the one that I've been recently working on is a guide for host for Werewolf the Forsaken. And that's one that I've been kind of working on for about a week now. I recently got Shunned by the Moon, so I've been actually reading a lot of that this past week. I really enjoyed it. Has anyone here read parts of that book before?
I read that book. Oh, hi, Mus. I read that book front to back like 4 or 5 times.
So you loved it, needs to say, right?
Yep. I think it's one of the best antagonist book they wrote.
What's your favorite part about it?
I think probably the Gerayo, I think, are like a cool, like feral eldritch type that are like close to the werewolves but not pure. So I think they're like refreshing and bring a lot to the lore and a lot to like mythical lore in general. Like a lot of mythical beasts could be Gerayo, which I think they're like a fun new antagonist.
Awesome, man. Yeah, the thing is when I was reading the part on host, the thing that kind of attracted me, I'm not sure if he's made of worms, I can't remember, but he reminds me of
the bloodworms weirdos?
Oh, the guy that's basically based off the guy from Men in Black. The main cockroach guy of Men in Black. He's clearly inspired by it. I forget exactly his name in the book, but he's in the host section, and that's something that, it's funny because when you watch these movies or when you think about horror movies, there are, some, stuff that we probably watched in our childhood that could clearly be inspired for stuff in Chronicles or World of Darkness. That's something that I always try to explore, and the whole idea about, Men in Black, that to me is one of my favorite movies of all time, and seeing something like that in a current book, I don't know, just makes me very happy. But that's what I'm currently working on. But at this time, that's what I've been spending my time doing this past, this event that's happened. But I'd like to, at this point in time, pass it over to Lenny to see what he's been up to.
Honestly, just slowly losing all sorts of, all sense of sanity. But no, in all honesty, I've just been kind of hanging out. Work has me staying at home, unfortunately, so I'm kind of like losing my mind. But yeah, I've been playing a couple games. Animal Crossing has me hooked for a bit, but I've since burned myself out on that. I do want to pick up, the Wayfarer's Guide to Adventurer's Guide to Wildmount. I don't know if you guys are fans of Critical Role, but they actually just put out a book for 5e. So I do plan on getting my hands on that. Other than that, just trying to stay safe and not be reckless like everyone else is. So hope you guys are doing the same.
Awesome. You'll have to tell us how that book goes.
Yeah,
but
when I can devote time to reading it, yes. Or have the attention span to do it.
Yeah, Lenny's our resident D&D guy. He's recently we were actually playing a game. When was that, like 3 weeks ago? I think it was.
I think it's longer than that. I think it's been about a month.
That's crazy. And we did like a one-off, and Lenny nailed it as always. It's really funny because Lenny's actually like super knowledgeable on that stuff.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you are, and we don't really highlight it all too much because we focus so much time on other game lines. But Lenny's our resident D&D dude. Awesome. So what I'll do now is I'm gonna pass it over to Jura and Lynn. And as mentioned before, Jura, Pit Boss Jura, the guy who rallies the troops, who brings everyone in, and Lynn, who's equally awesome on everything she does, is also another storyteller for our sister server, which Jura runs. Jura, do you want to take some time to kind of explain what that all is and all that awesome stuff?
Sure. So, I come from a background of many RPGs, not just the World of Darkness, and I had been running a server for the Genesis Rebirth for a while, and I wanted to do something with the Botch bit since I started listening to them about a year ago. And what had ended up happening was I I wanted to get it off the ground quicker than anybody else was able to participate. So I made a server called the Cryptic Underground. It's a sister server for this one. And essentially, it's 3 cities. We're going to be looking at adding a 4th city. We have Boston, Chicago, Seattle. We're going to add London. And in each one of these cities, there is a group of players that will represent characters from the world of darkness. And there's no central story. There's the way that Nick and I and Lynn have built the stories is that each character that you make, there's 3 fatal flaws that we write into them. And essentially, these are like fate cards. I do them with tarot cards. Lynn does them off the top of her head because she's infinitely more creative than I am. Nick is a sociopath and just comes with stuff off the fly. And these things, we will build them into the storyline, and they become, what's the word for it? The bad guys? English.
Antagonists.
Antagonists. Thank you. Sorry. Forgive me. So they become antagonists. And a perfect example is we have a character in the game called Giselle. She spent probably the better part of 3 days writing 2-3 characters into the story. And I was like, I'm going to sit here and roleplay these characters. I'm going to hate my life. So I killed one. And now one of them is an antagonist. And it's just, that's one character. And we're only in Boston right now. The story is only in Boston. And it's post to play. We have voice sessions. Now, granted, the last week and a half, it's been slow for the voice because COVID's really kicking Jacksonville's asses. I'm sure it's just equally as bad in Boston. But, and it's just a good way to get together for fans of the Botch Pit and World of Darkness, Chronicles of Darkness fans in general to get together and play a game. It's 24/7. If one of the STs is up, currently we have Lynn, my fiance, and Nick, who are STs. Chris does some story arcs. Lenny is a rampaging Wampa and doesn't do anything except play fucking goddamn Tom Nook games. But we are looking to expand it to the other cities. Everything is already set up for the other cities, even though you can only see Boston on the server currently. Chicago is set up. That's going to be a mage-centric. Boston is about to get mages introduced. Seattle is werewolves and slashers. I don't have anything for Geist yet. We have 2 Geists currently in the game. We have 1 Promethean currently in the game, thanks to Nick. And London is going to be a free-for-all with something from Beast and Deviant. So we've got a lot of things planned. It's an ongoing effort, and you're all welcome to come and play. Lynn, you got anything you want to say? You want to talk into the microphone and get recorded for all of eternity and everyone on YouTube in the world to hear you? She says no. She doesn't want to right now, but that's fine. So Nick, back to you.
Awesome. Well, I see Gaz over here in the chat keeps texting about the game. Gaz, do you want to say something about that game? How are you enjoying it? Let me ask you that.
I am very much enjoying it, except for Jura killing my favorite toy. And then handing
You
her
earned
over
it.
to Nick.
You earned it.
Don't worry, we'll get to the rest.
Mind you, this is also my first experience with World of Darkness.
That's great. That's always, but the best experience is when things go horribly wrong. That's how I was introduced. I was introduced by, basically charred by fire. Lenny, was that you squeaking up there?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I got
session. Like your
I got
first.
brutalized.
Oh, it was beautiful.
I am the way I am because of certain
Because
things.
of that session.
It's Chronicles of Darkness.
Nothing ever goes right from that. Then on out, I'm like, okay, well, this is how you this it's birthed by fire. But you baptized by fire. But also we have we have a whole bunch of people from that game in our chat with us. Does anyone else want to speak up about it?
Yeah.
I'm a horrible player.
Let's do Yanni first.
Hi, yeah, this is Yanni. I've really been enjoying the game. Right now, my character is going through all kinds of psychological trauma and also physical. He's hanging him by the edge, the knife's edge, basically, and ready to die. I mean, he only has 1 box left of HP.
That's how it goes. And Moose, am I pronouncing that correctly? I'm never sure if I am. Okay.
Yeah, it's Moose.
Moose, yeah. Could you explain your experience so far?
Oh, the beginning was great, and then life happened, and then I became a horrible because I did not give the attention the game deserved.
There's only one way to fix that, man. Get back in there.
I know, I will.
And how about you, Sloth?
Hello.
Hello, Sloth.
Hi.
So, for those on YouTube don't know, Sloth is also a title holder here in Discord because he actually got a pizza and wrote for
Calzone.
me. A calzone, that's what it was. It's just a pizza folded in half. He finally got a calzone after, 6 months of me asking him to do it? And he earned a title, so he's here in the pit, but he's also in the server. Tell us about your experience, Sloth.
It's been really good, honestly. Like Jura is the one who's primarily telling my bit of story, and it's pretty enjoyable. He's very attentive to detail.
Awesome. Is there? I don't think there's anyone else in the chat that's in that server, but definitely Jura, if people want to get involved, what's the best way to reach you? Is it through our Discord server and them just sending you a message, or what do you think is the best way? Because I know you have a whole process, correct, in terms of letting people join.
Well, essentially what I'll do is I'll take people who come to the Botch Pits Discord server, and if they're interested, they send me a private message. Very easy to locate me on here. I am Jura the Hammer. And what I'll do is I'll go through, your role-playing history, a couple of minutes, your expectations for the game, how the game works, what kind of character you want to play, and then I'll politely say, make a character sheet. We'll talk about it for a couple of minutes, and then on a Wednesday or a Sunday, we'll do what's called a Spark of Life. And essentially what it is it's your birth by fire, your introduction into the Chronicles of Darkness storyline that we're running. And it serves as a starting off point, an introduction, and also any little tidbits of an antagonist you might want to give me. The best example I can give you is Blizz plays a character, or Business Time plays a character called Denny. He's a young boy, I think he's 14 years old, and he wrote a whole backstory full of plot arcs and hooks and antagonists that a lot of times people aren't aware that they're writing their own story when they're writing their lore. And I'll take that lore, and at the Spark of Life, I'll pretty much take the training wheels off, and you're in the city. And the city's always online, it's always moving. So I would say join the Botch Pit server, the Discord server. Flag me down, let somebody know that you want to join the Cryptic Underground server, and we'll go from there.
Awesome. Yeah, so you heard it there. If you want to get into the server, just send Jura a message from our Discord, and we'll throw the Discord link in the description below, as always. But yeah, awesome. So in terms of other than Botch Pit stuff, what I've been up to, I've been watching a lot of horror movies, just grabbing a lot of inspiration from different ideas, and one that I highly recommend if you guys haven't seen it is, I believe, the original. Watch the original. There was an original and an American remake, but the original, I believe, is in 2004 of a film called Shudder. Have any of you guys seen it?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I'd have to check.
Fairly uncultured.
Of course.
If you haven't seen it, that's your assignment this week. Just go and watch that movie. Sit down. It takes like maybe an hour and a half. In addition to all the stuff I do here, part of my job is photography. In addition to a billion other things, but the way that they wrote that story centered around a camera is amazing. And just the way it all kind of builds up because of the the aspect around photography and in a ghost film. So it's much like if you've ever played any of the Fatal Frame video games. It's a lot like that to some extent. But definitely check it out. But yeah, I've been watching that. I've been watching a ton of other movies. I finally watched Midsummer. That gave me like the biggest headache ever because of the color palette of that whole film. But it's funny how you can fit almost any of the World of Darkness games and Chronicles of Darkness games into these mainstream movies in some way. Like when I was watching Midsummer, the thing that kept coming to my mind was actually the Spring Court. Funny enough. And if you've ever seen that movie and you've listened to that Spring Court guide, you can kind of see some of the similarities with a lot of it. But it's funny how like almost every mainstream media thing that you can see can be delved into this book or in any other books. Like a lot of the times you can take, stuff from World of Darkness, put into D&D, it's just awesome. But I guess at this point in time, what I'd like to do is pass it over to a Q&A. So a lot of the times whenever you guys have questions on the Discord, you post it and we get to it, and it's awesome. But what I want to open this up to now, both whether it's if you guys want to type it in or if you want to say it, any questions you guys have, whether it pertains to, Chronicles, World of Darkness, us as the Botch Pit, stuff in general. But yeah, does anyone have any questions they'd like to start with?
I would like to know any plans you have for Changeling the Dreaming.
Oh, okay. So it's funny. For Changeling the Dreaming, that is a book. So when it comes to World of Darkness, if you've noticed, we've kind of stuck a lot of time to Chronicles of Darkness. And the reason for that primarily was that in terms of World of Darkness, it's inundated on YouTube of the amount of people that are doing it and rehashing a lot of the same stuff over and over again. So we kind of wanted to explore new territory, kind of give, light to those game lines that don't typically have an outlet for it, such as like Promethean. Like how many Promethean videos have you seen on YouTube? And so when it comes to World of Darkness stuff, we've always kind of flirted on the edge of doing stuff with that. However, when it comes to Changeling the Dreaming, before, I think it was last week where, Drive Through RPG was doing that 20th anniversary distribution. So what they did, if you guys weren't aware, they gave out Vampire Dark Ages 20, they gave out Werewolf 20, they gave out Mage 20, Changeling 20, and Wraith 20. So prior to that, with Changeling the Dreaming, I have been interested in it, and it's stuff that I've been looking at to a point where it's been kind of a secret, but I haven't really been telling too many people about it, was that it's funny because one day Chris blurted it out and I got so angry. But now I'm going to tell all you guys. Last Christmas, my brothers actually pitched in and they bought me the nice leather-bound edition of Changeling the Dreaming. So I have been reading a little bit of it. So it's definitely like growing on me a lot better. And it's something that I would like to get into. And so you might see that soon, especially with the growing interest because of the V20 stuff. But yeah, Changeling the Dreaming is definitely something that, it's one of those ones where you either love it or you don't. And to me, I can see that polarization and I can see where the good is and where the bad is, But yeah, awesome question. Thank you. So next question.
I think the next question that was put down was for the it looks like, when are you guys going to do more sorted? The storyline is awesome. That's the referencing your video about the hunters in the office.
Oh yeah, Lenny, you remember that one?
I'm sorry, which one?
Sorted, the Hunter of the Vigil game that we did.
Was that the one with Jill?
Yeah, Jill was in that one. Wow,
Yeah.
that was a while back.
Yeah.
It was Chris as the main storyteller. You, what was your character's name again?
Oh God, I gotta go through my binder.
I know mine was Izzy. I remember Izzy in the whole poltergeist incident.
Yeah, that was a gem.
Yeah. So Sorted right now has been pretty much indefinitely postponed, which stinks because it's funny because like a lot of people love that storyline, but we kind of we've taken a break from it. And it's just been so long. But no, that one was so good. I think some of my favorite moments about that story, in particular, was just how Chris story told ghosts. He is a very finessed way about detailing it, and a lot of the stuff that I've I've stolen a lot of stuff from Chris. I'll be honest, in the way I tell ghosts, just because he does it so well. Like, because a lot of his inspirations for Ghost, if I remember correctly, Lenny, it's a lot of Beetlejuice, right? A lot of
Yeah, definitely Beetlejuice.
And like more cartoony, where it like they'll take down or extend their faces or extend their jaws and let it like hang and stuff like that. It's very it seems very kid friendly until it ain't. I guess is the big thing. But no, that unfortunately Sword has been kind of postponed. But I'd love to get back to it at one point in time because I loved playing Izzy. Because originally with actually before I go on, Lenny, do you have any comments on Sorted?
I mean, I'd like to get back to it too. I unfortunately one of the people that was playing with us, actually two of them, they haven't played with us in a while for one reason or another.
Yeah.
I'd like to get back to it too, just because Izzy killed me. It's probably one of my favorite characters he did. I don't know, it was a good dynamic. Dyer definitely, when we play games like Vampire or Geist, we always have these crazy superpowers and do crazy things, but with that and how far we got, we were still pretty squishy. So it'd kind of be nice to go back to that and, have the death, around every corner waiting for us to kind of have that again.
Yeah. With Sorted, I think with Izzy especially, that was a character where I finally started to get character creation down. Because I think by that time, Letty, is that like only like the fourth character I made? Or fifth?
God. Oh, I lost count, man.
Like of all time. Like that's not even World of Darkness. That's tabletoping in general. That's the fifth character I've made. And I started to see how you ought to create a character in terms of narrative. So with Izzy, especially, I started him as a second sight character with the ability to see ghosts, not knowing that Chris was playing this whole thing, which is the beauty about how Chris story tells. But with Izzy especially, I built Izzy to die. I built Izzy to get murdered because I wanted him to be a Geist, to be quite honest. And that never materialized. And like, it was, I'm curious to see if we were to pick it up now, where it would go. Especially because we all know so much more than when we did that session. But that was an awesome question. What's the next question? It's kind of hard for me to read the chat and discuss.
Nightfall had asked, does the RPG server use first or second edition? I believe we use second edition. Business Time, so the darkness is fluid. What are your influences?
Okay. Lenny, do you want to take this one first?
That's all you, man.
Okay. So, what are my influences for... Is it for a particular game line, Business Time, or just in general? Oh, just speak my thought processes. Okay. So, it's funny because, it's always come up before, but before I started playing with the Botch Pit, I've never role-played in my entire life. It was my first introduction to role-playing, but prior to that, I've been a musician. I've been playing saxophone for almost 20 years of my life, which is wild to think about when you kind of like just stack everything up. But with my background in terms of improvisation, in terms of musical improvisation, when it comes to thought processes, I relate it a lot back to music. You know, you have a general idea, but most of the time with music, you steal stuff from other artists. So, and that's true for anything. There's not one original character that ever exists. So when it comes to my thought process on character creation, I first evaluate, you know, I approach it almost like a cinematic piece of artwork. Like it's a movie or film, or what character would I want to play in this movie, or what movie have I seen that could influence this character. Recently in this recording, you know, just a little while ago, I mentioned, you know, Midsummer. I mentioned Shudder. I mentioned all that stuff. So like, for example, if we were running a, you know, Geist game, or we were running a game that was heavy influenced by ghosts or the supernatural, maybe I'd make a photographer. I keep that in my back pocket, and I always remember, you know, this was a really good idea that someone had at one point in time. Now, I wouldn't make it exactly like that movie. I wouldn't be plagiarizing that film, but that's something that I would always like kind of have in my back pocket, and not just how it would relate to that universe, but how it would cross-relate to anything else that might come up. Like going back to thinking about Izzy from before with Sorted, one of my influences for Izzy, it wasn't based after him, but he definitely had a heavy influence on it, was Dib Membrane from Invader Zim. So the ongoing joke was that, you know, even though it wasn't specifically put into that chronicle, that he was searching for a changeling that was basically Invader Zim. So it was, you know, there's a lot of things you can draw, and a lot of things don't limit yourself what you're doing, but definitely grab influences from, you know, film, from media, from anything that you enjoy, and then work it into the game somehow. But don't plagiarize it. That's the biggest thing. Did I answer your question, man? Awesome. So the next question.
I'm looking.
I think it was Gaz's. Any chance of the Botch Pit playing a game along with fans of Call of Duty?
Yes, Gaz wants to know if there's any chance of the Botch Pit playing a game along with fans for Call of Cthulhu.
So with that, with Call of Cthulhu, I actually haven't read any of it yet. I'll be quite honest. The only experience I've had with it is I actually got it for Christmas. But I've literally held the book, but I've never opened it. So when it comes to playing with fans, I don't know yet. I'm not going to say no, and I'm not going to say yes to give you a time frame of when it's going to happen. But much like the reason why Jura's also taken on this role is, you know, to help out with some of that stuff. Now, if I don't know where I'm really going with this, but I'm not going to say yes or no right now, but just hold. Right, Lenny? You think that's the best answer for that?
Yeah, I mean,
If there,
honestly, I think it'd be a good idea. It's just the logistics of it, we don't know. It's something we haven't really sat down and discussed. I mean, especially now with everything the way it's going. It's more of just, I mean, Nick, you're probably a better, you'd probably know more about this topic, but just like figuring out how everything would work if it were to do it. Learning the game, most importantly. You
learn games?
Well, I mean, that was more for Nick. I'm just told not to die and then do the opposite of that. And admitted, especially with Dyer, with COVID-19 being the way it is, in him, with his career, he is, yes, considered essential personnel. So, it's more of us just having the time to sit down, figure that out, and learning everything, to be honest. But like Nick said, definitely not saying no, and can't really say yes until we know what we're doing. Right?
Yeah, I think that's the best way to sum it up. I'd say hold.
Yeah.
And again, this is why this is awesome that we're doing this, we could sit at home and try to figure out what you guys want. But if we didn't have this conversation or we didn't have this community discussion, like, again, this is something that we wanted to do for a while, and it's just provided us an opportunity to do it. That's something now we can talk about. You know what I mean? So definitely let these ideas flow. And even if, like, after the fact, maybe there's something you think of, shoot any of us a message, just to let us know, and we'll get back to you. But awesome. Next question.
What is something you've always wanted in a game but never had?
I have one for that. One thing I've definitely want to see in a game, and I know, like, just for clarification, you mean in, like, an actual, like, gameplay session, right? Not in, like, an actual, like, tabletop game, right? You know what, Nick? I'm gonna come back to that and let you.
Okay.
If you have anything for that one.
Yeah, let me try to field this. So, something that I've always wanted to have in a game. Now, I'm going to interpret from the core, from my person, something that I really wanted. But I'm also going to relate it back to the core book. So, something in a game that. So, with. I'm going to relate this very specifically to. Something that I've been shortchanged on. So Dyer's pretty good about not doing that, to an extent. Everyone has to. When it comes to playing with a whole group, the bigger the group, the more you have to kind of let things go. You have to kind of give storytellers like the ability to do their thing. You shouldn't like always inhibit it. But something that I've always wanted to have happen in a game is So, I'm a very big fan of creating, not really summoners or necromancers, but just having a whole like party with me, and that's not really like the best way to play a game where it's like, scratch that. So let's talk about a game line that's really hard to put into a group. Sometimes is Promethean. I love Promethean. I love Promethean. But I feel that sometimes when you play Promethean in a Chronicle, you don't get the full experience from Promethean that Promethean deserves. Because I feel a lot of the times with Promethean, when you're working in a group, Promethean is a very, I feel like it's a very personal game. And I know when we've ran Prometheans in our Chronicle, it hasn't come out yet, but one of the Promethean I made is named Kill Milla, Killmilla, and I felt a lot of the times with Kill Milla, it was hard to kind of work her into the Chronicle the way I wanted her to be, because I was also playing her as a monster. She was a Centimani, but that's besides the point. But I wish I had more time to kind of develop that character, I should say. How about you, Lenny? Let's circle back to you on that.
Honestly, I'd like somehow to get back to the zoo campaign. But
yeah.
What I really, Nick, I must say, it is very enjoyable watching you play female characters, because you totally get engulfed in it. It is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. I really wish you'd go back to playing Val, or like Dyer would let you do it.
Oh yeah, that ain't happening. That character is locked away.
I know, it sucks. And this is what I want. I want you to play some sort of slutty character.
No.
And, yeah, you know where this is going. And I want you to like slut it up, and then hook up with someone, and then have like some NPC, and then you and Dyer have to act it out. Just because I know,
so uncomfortable. For
both
of us.
That is what I want. Because the thing is, I know the both of you and how competitive you guys can be, and you're both gonna try to make it as the other one as awkward as they can be. But as soon as you make Dyer feel awkward, he's gonna come back with you like twice as bad, and then it's just gonna escalate more and more and more. That is what I want.
I think, and for those of you at home who don't know who Val is, Val is who killed Chris's two characters, and that's why she will never come back, because he will never let that go. But yeah, no, I'd like to revisit the Zoo campaign. That'd be kind of fun, but again, it's just one of those things where it's kind of lost to time. But yeah, next question.
So the next question would be, what is the chance of you guys making guides for the new vampire comic?
So to articulate that, are you talking about the new stuff by Modifius and Onyx Path for V5? Is that correct?
Sloth.
Okay.
True.
For me, how can I put this?
Delicately.
Yeah, this is a Dire game, not a Nick game. When it comes to that, because when we do the guides, if you've noticed, I've never done a vampire guide. I might do that new one that came out for Night Horrors, but when it comes to vampire, Dire's the guy that's the diehard vampire fan in the group. Lenny enjoys vampire though.
I enjoyed our campaign just because it got so out of hand so fast.
Yeah. So, again, that's not a yes or no question, but it's very possible. I'll put it that way. Awesome. So, next question.
Are there any more Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition games in the pipeline?
Okay. So, I can tell you this. That if you actually go to the www.thebotchpit.com, you'll actually see the entire session. Not everything is up on YouTube. Funny enough, that is a game that was slowly been put up and then was stopped for whatever reason. Yeah, let's say that. But if you actually go to thebotchpit.com and you go to the blog, you'll actually see all of it. So you'll get way more vampire goodness. And I think it ended, from what was being uploaded, was session 2, part 6. Just verify that. And then you can actually sit and just listen to all the rest of them and download them. That's why. So I'm not sure if people know about that, but if you go to thebotchpit.com, you can actually download all the stuff as MP3s. And it's actually a little higher quality than listening to it on YouTube. So there's that. But Lenny, what did you think about Vampire? What was your favorite part about the V5 game that we did?
Burning down Jill's bar was probably the funny. No, I know what it was. The Christmas special that we did.
Oh yeah, that never hit YouTube. And that was my.
Damn it!
Wait, did it?
So
I can't
much
remember.
I don't know.
I think it did.
That one did. Yeah.
Yeah.
The funny part about that is if you actually looked at the ruling of that, yeah. But it was entertaining.
But no, honestly, I think. So what was it? We were playing the Zoo campaign, then VTM came out, and we started playing that for a bit. And it's funny because Dire, like, I was still new to the Chronicle, so I had no idea how to make a character and all that stuff. So he made me like this badass biker character, and I'm like, all right, cool. And he made me another player character is kind of like bitch. He was a Ventru, I was a gangrel. And so I had to listen to what the Ventru said. Whoops. And
You did it wrong.
yeah, I know. Anyways, what was it? I was going to get someone for Brad to feed on, and I purposely picked up with someone who was addicted to heroin and tried to get him to feed on that, but some crap ensued. I threw her in the car, tried to like knock her out, but I rolled way too high on the damage, snapped her neck, and it just spiraled even more out of control. And yeah, honestly, it's whenever we play Vampire, it goes like, just when you think things couldn't get worse, it always just ramps up to 10, and it gets frustrating at times, but then you go back and listen to it and like think on it, and it's freaking hilarious. So I mean,
awesome.
Would I like to jump back to it eventually? It's just COVID, yay!
So much content.
What's that, Lynn?
there's just so much content in BTM, and like the different classes require you to actually think how they would play, because they're very different characters. They're very different types depending on what background you pick. There's so much.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. So next question.
That would be from Business Time. It says, "What got the Botch Pit started?"
Oh, okay. So, Letty, why don't you say it from your end, and I'll say it from my end.
So, what was it, 2 years now? How long have you been doing this?
It was
1 year, 9 months.
2018 was the, when was it? Third week of January.
Yeah, I think it was around then. So, Chris had been talking to me, asking if I wanted to jump back into Chronicles, give it another shot, because I'd played a zoo campaign with another storyteller and Chris, and I hated it. It was one of the most miserable experiences I've ever had, mainly because it was like 100 degrees out, and we were in a room that was easily like 90 degrees in there, and it was just absolutely miserable. So it kind of like ruined my opinion of the game. But at that point, when he had asked me if I'd give it another shot, I was playing D&D, so I was getting more and more into tabletopping. So I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? And then he had told me who was playing, and I'm like, oh yeah, definitely, I'm definitely down to play. Like Nick, I had known you in passing for a number of years.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, definitely. And then we got together at Chris's house and made characters and just kind of played from that point. And then, a couple months had gone by and we played the zoo campaign more and more. And then I think Nick, it was like 2 or 3 sessions in, you literally just told him like, Dyer, you should be recording this because like this is actually really entertaining.
Yeah.
And then here we are almost 2 years later, and for some reason y'all listen to us.
Yeah, from my perspective, it like I said, I've never done this stuff before this. And Chris, one day, it was during a very pivotal time in my life, and a lot of things were changing. And he's like, Nick, why don't you come over and why don't you give it a shot? And I'm like, okay. And I go, I haven't done this at any point. He goes, that's okay, Nick. And I'm like, okay. So he goes, make up a character concept and come over. I'm like, all right. So I go over, not knowing anything about any type of game. And my only experience, or what I thought was experiences, was I played a lot of Diablo when I was younger. So I'm like, I'm going to come in like Diablo 2. And he goes, all right, Nick, what type of character do you want to play? I'm like, I'm going to play a sorceress. And he goes, no. He just looked at me. He goes, you're not touching mage. And I'm like, what's a mage? And that's how I kind of got introduced to it. So I had to make up a character on the fly, and that's who Viv is, Lenny. That was me making it up in an hour and then going to town to play it. But that's how I got introduced to it. And it just started, he was like, one day, do it. And then he's like, he put me through hell the first session. And then I came back next week and the week after. And then, like you said, it wasn't before long where I was like, Chris, I'm an engineer by trade. I know how to record everything. You want me to bring everything over and let's record it? I'm like, you should be recording this because, it sounds good. And he's like, yeah, why don't you try it? And then that's how everything happened, like you said. But it was, random chance, random thoughts. And yeah, that's how it all became. But yeah. Do you want to go to the next question now? Is that cool with everyone?
The next question would be from Sloth, and it would be Botch Podcast When.
So, Sloth, what do you mean by that? Could you define it?
So I could have said more detail. So, would you guys be down to since it takes a while to produce videos, but you guys are all very knowledgeable about different game lines, so would it be somewhat reasonable to just have a podcast or discussion type set of videos where you just talk about a certain game line and then just give out tidbits as far like a lot less researched than a video would be.
That's actually a good idea, man. I don't think we've ever discussed that, but we'll definitely consider it. The thing about the videos, and the thing that I guess it takes us the longest time, is we want to make sure we're not distributing false information, I guess is the best way to put it. And that's what takes us so long, because even in the books themselves, they contradict one another. So we have to, when we put in time to do it, we're just making sure that we're delivering, accurate stuff, because a lot of the videos online that if you watch them, they get a lot of things wrong. We just want to make sure that we're not like that. But when it comes to doing a podcast where you're saying, like, what is your opinions on this game line, that's something different, and that's something we could potentially explore. What do you think, Lenny?
I like the idea. I really do. I'd totally be down for that. Yeah.
Like we could do a thing with, again, like Shunned by the Moon came out. What do you think about Shunned by the Moon? That could be something, and that's a great idea, man. Thank you for offering that up.
Welcome.
Awesome.
Where do you see the pit in 2 years or 5 years? That's from Business Time.
Okay. That's a very hard question. So a little bit more about my background, and also Lenny too. We're both business majors, both actually from the same school. It's really funny. And the thing is when we initially were doing the Botch pit and we started to see the progress, I tracked the progress, and I actually made an analysis, evaluated, and I showed it to everyone. I go, by this time we need to do this, and this time we need to do this. I made up a whole plan. Within 2 months, my plan was destroyed, in terms of just forward thinking. Like, for example, you might see right now that the Botch box is here. That, for one, it was so funny because I made out a plan to, purchase this whole rig and just make it, to the tens. And I'm like, okay, I can get it all done by this time. And then when I saw that the numbers come in from my projected versus the actual, it was amazing. And so I was like, okay, no, my entire plan is out the window. I have to buy this like today. So to ask, where do we see ourselves in 2 years? It's tough. That's a very, very good question, but a very tough question to answer. What do you think, Lenny?
I'm just hanging out until I meet Matt Mercer at a con, and then can ditch you losers. No,
Lenny.
They don't get a tax write-off for having you in their group.
I take a lot of pool noodle.
It also does count as community service, though, so joke's on you. But no, honestly, 2 years. I definitely would like to be in a soundproof environment. As much as I love Chris's kids, they are very loud and distracting. Honestly, I really don't care where this goes as long as I can go and hang out with my friends on Friday and just play games and dick around and make stupid jokes.
Fuck you.
That's kind of like where I am too. Because again, at the end of the day, it's funny because we're a very good group of friends. And that's always the most important thing to us. So hopefully this thing keeps going the way it's going, because it's going awesome. We're enjoying the ride. Between meeting. I think my favorite thing about the ride is all the amazing people we're meeting.
Yeah, definitely.
Like right now, like the fact that we're just all in this community talking to one another, like that's amazing. That's fantastic. And that's my favorite part about it. So in 2 years, in terms of projected planning, like Lenny said, potentially getting a space for us that's soundproof, isolated. I mean, even in the past couple months, we've already made strides versus what we've had versus what we have now. Like Dyer has now a whole system set up at his house that I put in for him. so he can record a little bit not better. And it's just, again, everything's going in a good direction, but yeah, it's just hard. So yeah, next question.
This one comes from Wolfman1911. How did you all meet? It doesn't seem like you work together, and it sounds like you've met more recently than school.
Lenny, why don't you field this first?
All right, yeah. So I actually met Chris. I was working at a bakery in a shopping plaza down where we live, and I would always go to the GameStop where he was working. I think he was the assistant manager at the time, and I'd go and buy video games and talk to them. And occasionally he'd come over to where I worked, hung out, get coffee and all that crap. So from there on, we just got to know each other more and more, started hanging out. And Nick, I actually think I met you by happen chance while I was working at that GameStop. Because you knew Dyer at the time, and you were working at the, what was it, Rite Aid?
Yeah, so I worked across the street at the pharmacy. That was like how long ago was that? That was 2009. That was
I'd say sooner, or sorry, later. I'd say 2007.
No, because I started working at Rite Aid. I think maybe it was 2008. Maybe let's cut the difference. Maybe it was 2008. Yeah. So I've known Dyer and Lenny for 12 years.
Yeah, I mean,
crazy.
I've known Chris, probably about 10 years, and like Nick, you and I probably got to really know each other over the past like 2.5 years. Like, because we never really like hung out or like talked for more than a few minutes. So yeah, we've definitely got to know each other a lot better over the past few years. So
yeah. So I mean, we've all been friends for way longer than we've been doing any of this stuff, and I think that really shows a lot of the stuff that we do. Like, you can tell that we have time with one another. I think half the stuff I say to Chris, I wouldn't say to someone I've only known for like 2 years.
Liar. Fucking liar.
Yeah, Jura. I said a lot of stuff to Jura. Jura said a lot of stuff back.
Yeah, Jura, we knew you for 6 months and we stopped giving a shit, and then like we met you in person, and then like, all right, forget it, lions just don't exist anymore. That car ride from the airport was very telling.
It was, that was great.
Awesome. So why don't we do next question?
Will this voice channel stay up and public after tonight when Botch talks are not going on? That comes from Gazelle.
Awesome. So that's a really good question. So let me tell you first why there hasn't been a voice channel so far. So when it comes to way back when we were talking about it, and then one went up, and then I freaked out and we took it down. I'll take blame for it. And the reason why I freaked out was because when it comes to voice channels, we can't monitor them 100% of the time. Like right now, we're here. We can monitor it. But as soon as this goes off, we can't monitor it. Whereas with a text channel, we can monitor everything. You know what I mean? Because some of the times, as you can see, we all do our best to be here 100% of the time, but there are some times where we're not. And when we first started, it was at a point in time where we weren't sure how this was all going to go. We weren't sure if there was to be bullying. We weren't sure if there was to be, just ridiculous, not the charming ridiculous stuff that happens, but, the obscenely ridiculous that we didn't really want. So at that point in time, we decided to hold off on this. Now, because we're doing this at this point in time, and because of what is happening right now in the world, I will tell you that it's going to be another discussion we're going to have. Because of how, different the community, now that we know everyone and we realize, that's not going to happen. That, and then also, we also have a ton of faithful people here who would report any of that. Before when we had that discussion, that wasn't really a possibility for us.
Yeah.
So again, we're gonna have another talk about this, but I think time will tell again for that. I think for right now, we'll probably leave it up only because I think we're going to be having maybe another one of these soon. But again, we might have to put some, just everyone keep their eyes out, everyone keep their ears out type thing. And if you see something, say something. I guess it's not a concern anymore to me. But again, it's just something, always to be cautious about. You know what I mean? What do you think, Lenny? Does that kind of sum up everything?
Yeah, I mean, I know, what was it, last summer when we had this discussion, we were still kind of trying to figure out Discord and how the direction we wanted to go in and, what kind of community we wanted to have. But, I mean, it's been almost a year now. Everyone has been really, really cool. We haven't had any issues. Or even if there were, I'm sure it was handled outside Discord or whatever. But yeah, that's definitely one thing we do not want, is toxicity and bullying and all that stuff. It's like, we want you to have the same experience that you would just going to your friend's house and just digging around and just having fun. Granted, some people may get offended, that's fine, but, for the most part, we're all mature adults. It can be handled in a nice, civilized manner. But yeah, I mean, like Nick said, we got to know, for the most part, pretty much everyone in here. So, I mean, I don't see an issue with that, but I'm not really running this show.
Yeah, no, I feel like we're in the same boat, Lenny, though.
Yeah, I mean,
so I think.
I mean, even if there was an issue and someone was consistently being a dickhead, feel free to message any of us. We will.
I would blood eagle them.
I was gonna say, and then after we figure out what's going on, if we don't like the way someone's been behaving, if there is no way to mediate and kind of help solve the thing, we just send Jura after them. So yeah.
I live with him. That would be terrifying. Just so all of you should know ahead of time.
I was gonna
do that, please.
I literally saw that man run at me full speed, and I damn near shit myself.
He hurdled a staircase. So anybody who thinks Lenny isn't in shape, I watched this man nearly hurdle a 2-flight.
Yeah.
Nick just moonwalked out the door, super slick. Nick was real cool about it. He just slid out and was like, "All right, I'm outside now." But Lenny almost broke.
Oh no, I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified, and Jura can absolutely 100% back me up on that.
I've never seen a man's eyes open that wide in my 34 years.
Because you know what it was? I keep relating it, Jura, and we you've heard this a million times. I played a lot of Halo when I was younger, especially Halo 3. It was like a brute chieftain running at me with one of the Warhammers. He was on you were on the ground, Jura, and you were running at me, and you were still taller than me, and I'm like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
Yeah, once I heard the noises, we all just dipped.
But yeah, that's the long and short of it. I think right now, we're just gonna leave it up because we're probably gonna have another one of these soon. And then we're gonna talk about it. I'm sure right now everything's gonna be cool. But again, just be cautious of it. But yeah, why don't we go to the next question?
This one comes from a business time. It says favorite clan, sect, bloodline, etc. I don't know what that is. I'm sorry. Etc. etc.
That's all vampire stuff. So I guess my favorite, again, when it comes to clans and vampire, everyone has their favorites, and for me, it's Zamisi. It's kind of, absolutely abundant that I'll put Zamisi into everything, and it makes Chris infuriated. Especially with the what are they called? Antitributes. I always mess it up. Again, I'm not also the biggest vampire fan. I know that makes a lot of people oh my god. But anti-tribute, Toreadors. I know, right? It's almost like by hating vampire. But no, Toreador's Antitributes, again, whatever it is vampire. It's they have the vicissitude ability, so I'd like sneak that in, and Dyer would just be annoyed beyond belief. But I guess that's my favorite. Lenny, what's your favorite?
It's got to be the Gangrel.
Ooh.
That was Futura. Just because, like, they just have such animalistic tendencies and just absolutely friggin' ferocious and savage and brutal. And, like, yeah, I love it. I mean, I'm a big fan of ancient Norse culture. I'm actually reading a book on Norse mythology right now. So any type of character I can incorporate stuff like that into, I'm in. Done. Let's go.
Jura and Lynn, what are your favorites?
Oh, you cuck. Lenny, you go ahead first.
So as I screamed in chat, Tremere, which I'm also super biased. We were going to do a VTM LARP, which unfortunately due to COVID-19 got canceled, and I was playing a Tremere. So I've done god-awful goobery amounts of research on Tremere, on Gangrel, on the history of them. Anybody who does know Tremere, they're kind of the scholars of the vampire world. They're super interested in, like, learning. They're very book smart. They very much, like, lock themselves away and are like, my books. So the character that I had created was very much, like, looked at even social things as a way to learn. And, of course, they have, like, their blood magic and all their fancy stuff, like, their cool stuff that they do. And a lot of people really hate Tremere, which I didn't know until I started looking into it. They see them as usurpers. And to that I say, you can wear a title as a crown or a weight. It's up to you. But yeah, so Tremere got it going on. They have a lot of background in helping people. They have a lot of background in hurting as well. They're a very confusing group because they swing a lot of different ways on any given day.
I have Promethean tattoos all over my body, but I guess if I had to pick somebody, it would be the Gangrel. A lot of the same reasons that Lenny likes the Gangrel. I am from Scandinavia, and I love that the Gangri are essentially the background for the Gangrel, and they just, in a world where socio-political environments are so fucking frugal, and the Gangrel just don't care about any of that shit. They, like, get there on your own merit or die. It doesn't matter.
Awesome, everyone. All good answers. I love everyone's answer. Why don't we keep the questions rolling?
The next question comes from Lycerosis. Forgive me, English sucks. This one's kind of a pseudo-loaded one, so we'll ask you to address it at your whim, Nick. What do you think the future for White Wolf on his path is? Are you of the assumption that the subsidiary license will renew or be reinvented through Kickstarter? Or do you feel that the source material is so diluted that any reinterpretation of past media is moot?
A business question. I wasn't prepared for this.
Turning your Ash Ketchum hat around.
Yeah, because I want to give you an accurate answer. Again, a lot of the stuff I do, I don't want to just say it. When it comes to the business model of these books, I can't get behind a lot. I'll be quite real. And again, you probably can feel me on a lot of that. And again, I don't want to, like, beat anyone up because everyone just always does their best.
You know what, Nick? Dyer's not here. Go nuts. Just go nuts.
Okay, because again, even if I don't put this in the YouTube video, you guys will know my opinion, and I think that is more than enough for me. Do I think White Wolf will renew Onyx Path? I think that's definitely a definite. However, let's talk about how they kickstart their stuff, and everything is kickstarted, and how Yeah, you can probably see where I'm going with this. I don't have to go into too much detail for you to kind of get my tone of how that isn't properly how to run a business. Using contractors for absolutely everything and contracting everything out. It's also very telling when a core book or a book that you had done is comprised by one or multiple authors that clearly are not in the same room. And I know that in the recent Dice video, Chris kind of hit hard at this. So if you want a little bit more of a well-rounded opinion on how we see their model working, listen to Chris, because me and him are on the same page about a lot of that stuff. But when it comes to them using Kickstarter to again fuel their business, to do books that get kickstarted literally the day they are released, I think you all can kind of see where I'm going with this. What do you think, Lenny? You think that's a fair answer?
I have to agree. Don't like the way they do it. I feel like it's just so diluted. It basically shows that you have no faith in your product, and it also shows that you're just catering to the whim of the fans.
That's called pandering.
Yeah, it is. It's frustrating because it's like it's preventing them from taking a chance. They're basically just spewing out the same crap. Maybe some rules have changed. Maybe some powers have been nerfed and buffed and stuff like that. But I mean, it's the same thing. It really doesn't help spark creativity. It just destroys it. I personally don't like the Kickstarter mentality as well, because it to me it's just pathetic. It's probably, like, for lack of a better word, more professional word I should say. And usually the Kickstarter goals aren't that great, to be honest. I mean, would you agree, Nick?
Yeah.
None of them have done a good none of them have done a good stretch goal, in my opinion, which is physical dice. That's all
You
I
don't
want.
like getting repurposed first edition material as your stretch goal? You ungrateful swine!
I know, I'm a horrible goddamn human being, alright? Leave me alone. But yeah, I'm still pissed that, like, this whole digital dice crap pisses me off. I am a dice whore. So if you put up physical dice in your Kickstarter, I will probably back it if I actually like the game enough. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean the whole, because again, I could open us up to the 10th degree in terms of like whole drive-through RPG and the distribution of print-on-demand books, and we need Dyer here for that to really nail it home, because that man gets very fired up over a half an inch bigger books in his bookshelf. I have never seen a man get more aggravated at a book in my entire life.
It's hilarious. You can literally see him staring at his bookshelf, and like his little vein in his forehead just starts pulsating with anger.
And every day, I mean, every time I go over, his print-on-demand books are in a different position because he wants to get them out of the way. Like before, he's like, I banished them to the top. And he's like, now I banished them to the bottom. And he's like very vindictive about it. And it's so funny because the recent Mage book that came out, Nameless and Accursed, I was like, Dyer. And Chris, by the way, has every Mage book, which is like 20 books or something like that. Maybe it's 25, I forget. It's like bigger than like my, half my collection. 23. And he's like, I'm like, hey, so are you gonna get Nameless and Accursed? And he just looked at me and he goes, no. And this is a man who has every Mage book, and that's because even though second edition, he pretty much had to get it print on demand because they didn't offer it as a premium edition or whatever they call these Kickstarter editions. So he kind of had to get that one, but he's not happy about it. And now they're doing supplements as print on demand. That man is not happy. So I'm not gonna get into that part of it, but it's really And I'm sure we're not the only ones who feel this way. And that's the reason why, and how close-knit of a community we are, I'm sure that, there's at least a few of you in there that have been thinking the same thing. So I'm not going to say something that I don't fully believe, because I respect you all enough to give you the truth, But yeah, sorry for the heavy-handed attack.
Like, I've seen you make that rant full on. That was tame.
Yes. Yeah, because yeah. So why don't we go to the next question?
This one comes from Moose. What is the next second edition line you guys most excited to play or to do a guide?
Okay. I'll start with that one. So a second edition game, I'm going to phrase that as one that has yet to be released. So for me, it's going to be Hunter 2E. And, I've been reading a little bit of it. And what's funny, I'm not sure if you guys have done this before, the people who back the Kickstarter stuff, if you actually go in and at the end of their Kickstarter things, they release to you all their updates they did along the time as one PDF, and it's like, here you go. What you're receiving there is like 99% of the final book, but they don't tell you that. So like people who pretty much have backed Hunter, take a look at it and let me know what you think. But Hunter was a game that really got me into the World of Darkness. Chronicles of Darkness. And if you need, it's so funny. Like it's interchangeable, but not. But Hunter was a line that really sparked me before the whole changeling thing that happened. That really caught my attention. So I'm curious to see how my roots, I should say, have changed with 2E. But yeah, that's my end of it. And that's also why I've stopped the Hunter guides for right now, because again, I don't want to create all those guides to then have to redo them. And it's funny, a lot of the Hunter stuff they dispelled, which it's I understand, but it also doesn't sit well with me. So I have to make sure that when that book comes out, I go back and retrofit everything into it. But that's gonna be a lot of work, but that's what I'm most excited for. Yeah, Lenny, how about you?
Are we talking strictly Chronicles, or?
I'd say open it up.
I'd eventually like to dive into Pathfinder 2E. I know we have, did we record with Big Nick? No, we didn't.
No, we haven't recorded that one yet.
Yeah. I know we had just made our characters, so I would definitely like to dive into that at some point, because I only have experience with D&D 5e, so from what I heard, Pathfinder is on par with 3.5, so I'm kind of excited to kind of jump into that. We're not all quarantined.
Yeah. Jura and Lynn, do you guys want to jump in on this at all for this question?
Lynn, you got it? The question was, what is the next second edition game line you guys are more excited to play or do?
I think right now, like, Starfinder was something that we as a home group here where we live played once as a one-off. And I enjoyed it a lot. I'm a huge fan of pirates and space, so Space Pirates was super cool for me. But it is more of the high fantasy, which I got super burnt out on. Sorry, Lenny. And so, like, it's hard for me because you have to have good people to play with. You have to have players that don't metagame but can play together and can physically work through the story. Otherwise, we end up selling cabbages and photos of homunculi. So I would be interested in doing it with certain groups. I'm very selective now, though, for that reason.
As far as I go in second edition games, it's not a Chronicles game. Right now, I'm looking forward to the release of the second edition for the Genesis Rebirth edition. I'll have more on that at a later date. but the real big one I'm looking at right now is Through the Breach. It's made by Weird Miniatures, and it's based in Malifaux. It's like steampunk horror, Wild West, and the big gimmick of the game is that it's all done with a deck of cards, like poker, instead of dice. And I've been reading all the lore, all 6 of the books I finally finished. I had to translate them from German to English, and I mean it's amazing. It is very rich, and I am very, very excited to play that game.
Awesome.
This one comes from Business Time. What is a genre that hasn't been represented you would love to see in the Mythic?
Oh, okay. So, I mean, there has been stuff that, it's been alluded to in a whole bunch of different books, but I mean, there's always 2 things that I wish they get to make. One, I wish Sloth was still here because it's one that I always joke around with him with. But they need a book just about zombies. They have it spread across like 8 different books, and it just needs to be like an edition that has everything in it. Just about how to kind of do everything together. Because you can make zombies in pretty much any game line, but I feel if they have like the big book of zombies, I know I always joke about the big book of Spider Goths, which it's going to be made eventually, but having the big book of zombies is one that I would really like to have. But personally, and this is just because my flavor of horror is a little bit different than most, my favorite genre of horror is actually J-horror. I really wish, they allude to it in a whole bunch of different games, but I wish there was a book that was all about Japanese horror for the World of Darkness or Chronicles of Darkness. So like them talking about like the Unrose, them talking about all these different spirits, them talking, again, it's used in Werewolf plot. You see that in a little bit in Geist, but I feel as though as if they had a book just dedicated to that would be terrifying. Because personally, J-horror is extremely organic. And it creates a level of tension and fear that it has its own genre. It's able to be kind of, stand alone as like terrifying. It's like one ghost is going to get rid of all of you. And personally, that's what I would like to see. Maybe I'll make that. How about you, Lenny?
Particularly really comes to mind.
Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Awesome. Yeah, why don't we go to the next question?
This one comes from Gazelle. Gargoyles from Masquerade or Requiem? Which do you prefer?
Well, Gaz, me being the expert vampire, I know I am. Again, I am not very articulate when it comes to this stuff. Just forewarning anyone listening to this or anyone in the chat, vampire is not my bag. But from what I've heard about them in Masquerade, they're pretty awesome. Yeah, so I'm gonna say Masquerade.
Agreed.
Yeah. Again, I wish I could speak more on the subject. Unfortunately, that's not my my bag. But yeah, want to go to the next question?
This one's from Gaz, and I'm actually excited for it. If you can't field it, I will. Have you heard anything about the Altered Carbon RPG? And if so, how do you feel about it?
The only stuff I've heard of it is from Jura. so Lenny, do you agree? Let's just pass it over to Jura on this one.
I will say that I love the show. So, if the RPG is half as good as it, then I'm down. But yeah, sure, feel free to take it away.
So, I have backed it. One of the higher tier ones. I will not tell anyone which one it is until the book comes out. I have the PDFs for it. I have spoken to the creators of it. I have had a phone conversation with the developer and a few artists. This game is pretty intense. The one thing that most people hate in pen and paper is that they start up a game and 2 sessions in, they pull a fucking Lenny and they're dead. Well, in Altered Carbon, you keep a few of those skills that you had in that character. and they travel with your stack to your new sleeve. And one of the tricky things is every so many times that you you die, the DM gets dice to do things against your next sleeve until you're no longer able to get a military grade Auspix 3 CPM sleeve, and you're put into a 5-year-old girl with the murder mentality of a seasoned Yakuza assassin. And I'm telling you, I love games that reward DMs for putting up with players' bullshit.
That's
So
all I
it's
had here.
it's gonna be a great system. I highly recommend you take a look at it. They've got a few more higher echelon Kickstarters open, or tiered Kickstarting positions open for it. And if you're a fan of Cyberpunk, if you're a fan of Technomancer, if you're a fan of the books or the TV series, they have a whole write-up about Takeshi Kovacs, and that is every nerd's wet dream as far as I'm concerned.
Cool. Why don't we go on to the next question?
This one comes from Business Time again. What other games have you been excited about outside of the norm?
So I guess that all kind of revolves around what is the norm. So
Can we say Western typical? Can we say atypical Western RPGs that we frequent on the show?
Well, I know the one that you've talked about before, Jura, and the one that I'd like to eventually do, especially with a lot of my tabletop light friends. It's funny saying that now. I would never have said that like 2 years ago. But 10 Candles, one you always talk about.
Oh yeah,
one that you say everyone plays. I mean, that's one that's always piqued my interest, but I've never had the opportunity to do.
Go ahead, Lenny.
I was gonna say, if I can just plug real quick for some of you guys who are really interested in other games, whether it be high fantasy, whether it be post-apocalypse, whether it be whatever, the tiny D6 games we played have been really awesome for one-offs. If you're just like, I kind of want to see if I'm interested in this. If you're like, you know, I'm really dedicated to Call of or Chronicles of Darkness or anything like that, and like you're really into those horror games, but you kind of want to check out some other tabletops and you're not sure how or where to start, they have a plethora of various scenarios, settings, pre-writtens, one-offs, things you can add to, things you can take from. And so like that's actually been a really entertaining thing to do when we were kind of like, man, we're really stagnating. We're really struggling to not only like get our group together, but to like maintain focus in our stories. Those created a lot of really fun sessions that we were able to all accept that like, we're doing this. This is happening. We're doing it. This is going to be fun. And we really enjoyed it. And a lot of fun came out of it. But then we were able to like shelf it and be like, we can play it again, but we are under no circumstance do we have to.
Jura and Lenny, do you have anything you want to say?
Len, you go ahead first.
I mean, outside of the norm, not really. Just because, you know, I mean, I'm kind of down to play anything. I mean, half the time I just show up when we're going to record and they just tell me we're playing this. I'm like, all right. I don't know, to be honest. You know what? I take that back. You know what, Nick? You know what we should do?
What?
We should, when we finally get never mind. I don't want to spoil that. Eventually, I'd like to just do something random and just sit down and have you and Dyer and I just play Monopoly and just see how pissed we can get at each other and try not to kill each other.
oh, Lenny. This isn't going to end well, and we all know it.
I played with his wife. It can't get any worse than that. But yeah, I mean, I'm outside of the norm. Not really. I mean, I wish I was with you guys when you guys played Cult. I mean, I love the book. I think it's a beautiful book. Same thing with V5.
Page 126.
DVD disc.
But I mean, it's yeah. I'm just kind of down for whatever. So, you know, playing whatever. So it doesn't, you know, really faze me that much.
Yeah, Cult is beautiful. Jura, how about you?
Oh man, being the consummate foreigner that I am, there is a company out of Poland. It's called Six More Vodka, and they made the Genesis Rebirth Edition. I've talked about it. They have one in the work called Orcus, and it's all about the survival of tribal orc clans scattered across the post-apocalyptic world, fighting against normal humans, and you play the orcs, and it's so fucking crazy. There's a game from Corpus Belli. They're an Italian producer. It's called Infinity. There's Cult. I am super pumped about Cult. I've always loved anything that has to do with that kind of crazy shit. Goblin Quest, honestly. Goblin Quest is something I'm pretty pumped about too. You make 5 goblins, and they each have like 2 health points apiece, and you try to accomplish the mission through the night. It's a beer and pretzels game. It looks to be pretty cool.
Yeah, so why don't we get another question in here?
This one comes from Business Time. When can we have another It's Always Sunny in Brostarvania?
Not
Oh,
soon
man.
enough.
Yeah, exactly.
You're all terrible.
Dude, I'm honestly so mad we didn't get to finish that.
Yeah. It's all good though.
I know. Honestly, I'd have to say next time we're down in Florida. Because I mean, we need the Bro Stars for that.
We do.
So I mean, in Andreas. So
No, he's dead.
No, he's not. Stop.
He is dead.
Jeez. He's not dead.
He flipped into a dragon. I don't care what anyone says. He's dead. He doesn't get the money.
Do I get my hands back?
You
Yes,
were the
plus 3
most.
bombs. Plus 3 bombs.
You were the most entertaining out of all my grandkids.
by the way, the best part about that, like, just just hearing Dyer's voice in audio format, you can just picture the face of disappointment he made at Nick.
Oh my God.
It was palpable.
It was brilliant. Because, like, the thing is, so I'm not sure if we particularly said the story of why that voice came up. That one very particular voice.
We're gonna do this now?
Yeah, why don't we say it?
You guys did this. You derailed it. This is happening. 15-minute adventure.
What happened is, so we were all coming back from doing that event at Emerald Dragon Games, and we were all just super tired by that point. I know like everyone at the table was, you could tell like it was a little low, but everyone was still amped to play. And so what we had to do is we had to create characters. So, I created my character. I'm like, okay, I'm all set. I'm going to play my character. And then what happened is we went around the table and they started with Jura. And Jura did a voice. And I'm like, oh no, I don't have a voice. And so then it went to Lid, who did a voice. And I'm like, oh no. And then it went to me, and I just picked a random voice. And that's what happened. And I looked right at Chris. And Chris, he just came off of running like a 12-person game. He was fried already to begin with. He just looked me dead in the eyes, and I murdered that man. That man could not get back up after that. And it was totally by accident because I was just so tired.
You're also omitting the fact that all 3 of us had barely slept.
That's true. Yeah, because the house
Who
was
the
haunted.
fuck do you think you are?
Yeah, that's the 3 of you.
We were in the murder room.
That's true. Not to mention Dyer had broken his hand. And
Yeah,
then
so
Jura
Dyer.
reset it. That's true. You did fix it right in the store, and then fixed it with a spoon.
He was fine.
But like, needless to say, like none of us were in our right mind. And just when I just connected it, and I'm like, oh no, what did I do? But I couldn't back out. Like once you go that way, you can't dip back out. So I had to maintain it the entire time. And yeah, that's how that happened. But that was good stuff. My hands.
My hands.
By the way, if any of you have not watched It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, go do that.
Dude, when he runs across the courtroom, don't look at it! Don't look at it! Then fuck die every time.
So anyway, I started blasting.
Yeah, pretty much like 98% of our catchphrases we've literally stole from It's Always Sunny.
But yeah, no, we need to do that as soon as we can. We'll get right on that. But awesome.
We've
Why
got
don't we
two
go?
more.
Okay, 2 more questions.
2 more
Cool.
for the night. 2 more.
2 more. Okay.
One comes from Gazelle. Does happiest apocalypse on Earth look like something you at the Botch Pit would enjoy?
So, I'll be straight with you guys. The first time you posted that, I actually went and got the PDF. Because I wanted to see what you were kind of talking about. And I don't think I've ever said that. But anytime like you or no matter who it is posts a game in the thread, I usually go and find it. And I get it just to kind of, see what everyone's interested in. Because again, it could be something we use, could be something we don't. When it comes to that, as you were saying, it's copyright abound. And it's really funny to see like that actually got put and published, I guess, on drive-thru, and that was okay. Which raises a whole host of other questions. But we actually, it wasn't from that book. But we have something in the pipeline, and I think this might be my first time mentioning it. It wasn't necessarily like that, but it kind of was, where we had, kind of like a Walt Disney, Willy Wonka type figure running, like a fun house, essentially. And that was a game that I ran for the Botch Pit that actually ended up being part of something bigger later. That's why we can't really release it on its own right now. But a lot of that book, some of its inspiration definitely played into that. And what it was, funny enough, I ran a Changeling the Lost game for the Botch Pit. It was a one-shot, and I thought it was fun. But Lenny, how did you like it?
It was complete and utter chaos, and I played one of the squishiest characters, utter pathetic human being, and I loved every second of it.
Well, Lenny, I think you broke up a little bit by the end of that. Can you just say it one more time?
He said he played a character that stood in front of the camera the entire fucking time.
No, you're just pathetic, and I loved it. You're talking about the
Bastian Bacchanal.
the Starbucks incident, right?
Yes.
Yes. I had a good time with that just because Dyer was ready to strangle me within the first 5 seconds of the game, and he wasn't the storyteller. It was one of my proudest moments as a player.
So do you want to say what happened? I mean, this is the first, literally within the first 20 seconds, I've already taken Lenny. Explain from your end what happened. And I'll explain from my end what happened.
Alright, so mind you, I have no knowledge of Changeling. They kind of just sprung it on me last second, so I'm like, alright, cool, I'll just make a human, whatever, no big. So having no knowledge of this game, my character goes into a Starbucks, and barista asks for, I order, and the barista asks for my name, and I, gave him the name, not thinking anything of it, and it was over from there. I saw Dyer's reaction. He got so mad. Then Nick had to explain to me what happened. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And that reaction pissed him off even more. So,
so what happened was Lenny came in, and I said a barista, and I'm like, this ain't gonna work. In the back of my head, I'm like, this ain't gonna work. And then I go, hi, welcome to Starbucks. He's like, hello. And I go, what would you like today? And he told me his thing. I go, give me your name for the order. Not for the food, for the order to be put into the machine. So he does it. And then he's sitting there smiling at me. And I look over at Chris, and Chris realizes what has happened. And so what I had them do is I had them plug the order into the computer. So they took his name for the order to go through. And Lenny's sitting there and he's like, where's my food? And I'm like, that ain't part of the deal. And so I just took him right from there. But it was fun. But again, a lot of that book kind of bled into that. If I was to put it to something, will we ever play that book straight out? Potentially. Yeah, I guess, does that help you answer the question? Awesome. Perfect. So, do we have one more question for tonight?
One more question.
Perfect.
This one comes from Business Time. Where is the majority of the pit based out of? Hashtag BotchCon20.
Lenny, you take it.
We're all fucking based out of Boston, kid.
It's so funny because I feel like a lot of times when we're speaking, like I see myself stopping and thinking about what I have to say so my accent doesn't come out. But yeah, we're all from Boston.
Yeah.
Lenny, talk full Bostonian for a second.
Why the fuck you gotta make me fucking do it, dude? It's like, come on. Stop being
Hey,
a fucking
kid.
douche, we'll move on. Fucking
Kid.
over it.
Go fuck yourself, kid.
Fuck you. But yeah, it's I don't know about Nick's end, but from Nick's perspective, but we don't sound like we're from Boston.
Yeah, you fucking do.
Fuck you, I can't even finish that sentence because I will.
He's gonna fuck you up, Lenny.
Yeah, I know he will. I've spent years trying to get rid of it, just because we deal with me specifically. I don't know, Nick, on your end. I deal with a lot of those people at work sometimes, and it drives me insane. Because to me, it is basically the twang of Massachusetts, if you will, and it drives me nuts.
What's it like to have an unflattering accent that gets in the way socially?
Your accent is strong, and it is full of, I don't want to say fear, it instills fear in those who hear it.
Ancient Nordic fury.
Exactly.
Like, I feel like if I say the word porka, you really hear it. And it's funny because whenever we talk about, for my saxophone students, like Charlie Parker, like literally that's what I have to say. And I'm like, I hate everything about me right now. Like, Charlie Parker played saxophone. It's like the most.
Yeah, I mean, mine comes out more after I've had a few drinks. And
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Oh,
You drank half that bottle of meat, buddy.
Yeah. I was just happy I wasn't hungover the next day. Because my tolerance was low. But yeah, it really comes out when I'm drinking. So.
Lenny will sneak up on you though. So like, I'm very much Southern, and I didn't realize that like rednecks came from like everywhere. And to see this kid's face light up when he got to see like classic cars, and to see him just full redneck out and get so excited and just turn into a little kid. And I was like, do they have like Monster Truck Jam up there? And he's like, oh, I have tickets. And I was just like, my God, I wasn't aware. And then I met Lenny and I was like, oh, okay, this is fine with me.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it depends on who you meet. Like, Nick, I don't know how into like Boston sports you are, but I'm a big New England Patriots fan, and when you have to sit and listen to some of those fans and how they talk and how they just get into fights everywhere, it makes my skin crawl, because it literally just feeds into that Boston stereotype, and I hate it. I hate it.
The Pats kid? Pats? Tom Brady's leaving? TB12?
Don't even get me started.
TB12?
Don't even get me started. I have it covered.
Why the fuck he leaving?
I don't know, Nick. It's all fucking Giselle. It's all Giselle's fault. But yeah, it drives me nuts. But I mean, at the same time, I love my city, so it's kind of like a double-edged sword. So
it was funny. So Lenny, I don't think you were there for this, but just as a Botch pit story. So outside of doing like tabletop stuff, we do other stuff sometimes. So like we go to concerts. Like we went to Chromeo before, and that was a lot of fun. But speaking along the Boston sports thing, so it was me, Chris, maybe Brad. I can't remember. But we went to see Power Man 5000. Now, if you know who Power Man 5000 is, that's a band from the 90s. Look them up. But we went to this hard rock, like getting close to metal, somewhat show. And
it's like new metal.
Yeah. He's funny enough, he's the brother of Rob Zombie. A lot of people don't know that. Spider-One, the lead singer. And what was funny is he's like talking to the crowd, and the crowd is just talking to him back about the sports teams in Boston. And it's like this, this rock show. And he goes, "Why you guys? Is this all you talk about?" And one of the guys he was talking to the audience is like, "We love the Red Sox." And he's like, "What am I supposed to do with this?" Like, he was just so flabbergasted on stage. He's like, "What else do you talk about?" He goes, "The Pats." Like, literally, it was the funniest thing, because it was just like 40-year-old man who probably saw this band 20 years ago and wanted to relive his childhood. It was amazing. But it goes to show you that no matter where you are in Boston, everyone's gonna talk to you about sports.
Yeah. Oh my God!
So funny.
Nick, today's 3/28.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Do you get the reference?
Yes, I do.
Okay, just making sure. Yeah, no, I agree. That was at the Paradise, right?
Yeah, that was at the Paradise.
No wonder why you're like right down the street from Fenway.
Yeah. It's so funny. Which I think the Paradise is closed now, speaking of. But again, that's a story for another time.
Wait, Paradise?
Not just for the Corona, but like literally closed. I feel like all my favorite venues in Boston are closing.
House of Blues is still there. It's fine.
Yes. But awesome. So I guess now that was the last question I think we were going to take, and we're going to kind of wrap up now. But again, what's up?
Sorry, I'm going to cut you off here. Wrong. It's still open. You're thinking of
still. Oh, okay. I thought you meant the questioning. I'm like, wait, what?
No. Sorry.
Cool. Yeah, it was the Middle East. That's what went down. We saw it at the Middle East. That's why.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why. But anyways, awesome. Well, I hope that everyone enjoyed this. I hope that we were able to connect a lot better. I know right now it's kind of wild out there, but like I said at the beginning, we're hoping to do this again. Let us know if you guys enjoyed this. If you want to, when you guys would like to potentially do this again. Because I know we do Stay the Pits about once a month. Now, to do this about once a month might be a little, depending on what happens, it could be a little difficult. But, I'd like to do this again. I'm sure everyone here would like to do it again.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I know with this whole Corona thing, this might happen sooner rather than later. The thing about this, though, is that with the Q&A especially, like, you want to give it some time, because you don't want to do it like every 2 weeks, because then you don't get questions. You know what I mean? It's like a band. Like, a band doesn't play the same venue like 3 weeks in a row.
I thought you said you saw Power Man 5000.
I did. It was the last time they played in Boston, like, for 10 years. It was crazy. But no, the thing is like, definitely, like, and again, with the questioning, we're gonna probably make it a little bit more streamlined, because it's on my screen right now. It's just like a thing flying up. So if we forgot anyone, I don't think we did. But if there's any questions that we potentially didn't answer, just shoot them again, and we'll get back to you guys in text. But I hope you guys all enjoyed this. I had fun. I thought it was awesome. What is everyone's opinion of this? Any comments or criticisms?
No,
This was
pretty
awesome.
I still have a problem with the fact that Lenny always says that he's busy, but is on Animal Crossing all the time and doesn't play any games with me.
Man, I got debts I gotta pay to an anthropomorphized raccoon. Leave me alone. I have business. But no, seriously, we will play Blizzo.
He pre-apologized for that. Do you mind if I do just a really quick housekeeping message for Boston Chronicles?
Absolutely, go right ahead. And again, people who want to, if you're not in that, reach out to Jura and stuff. But definitely go
Tomorrow
ahead.
morning.
Yes.
So for those who are in it right now, we apologize for like some of the lapses in communication. Things have been a little wild. I have a few new toys that we're going to play around with to try to make it a little easier. I am going to look into investing more so that it is easier. Like Jura said several times, there's 3 storytellers, and we are consistently adding, players and new locations, and just there's a lot going on. I am still working on fleshing out some things for you personally, guys. I should have that. I'm gonna say mid-week. I'm gonna aim to be sooner than that, but yeah, we're definitely kind of stocking up on some things that we're noticing we need as we go. So just bear with us, guys. It's my first time storytelling at all, so just kind of trying to learn as I go and work with you guys and figure out what makes it fun for you guys, what makes it fun for us as storytellers, what kind of keeps everything cohesive. And thank you guys all for just being there and being awesome and being, really, really cool with us kind of having to pop in and out. I know there's been a little bit of an issue, but we are certainly working on that on our end.
All's cool on my end. I've got plenty of Changeling the Dreaming that I've been catching up.
Awesome.
Yeah, everything's well on my end as well.
You're dead. Shut up.
I know.
He's almost dead, and that's Gaz's fault.
You're a cunt hair away from rich man heaven, Bruce Wayne. Let me tell you.
But remember, characters can only go into the bin to be revived later, and you can certainly...
He's gonna be the richest Promethean ever.
But he's not gonna remember who he was.
He's seen and talking to ghosts. Who was that? What?
He's gonna come across the poster for his campaign.
Oh, Nick, real quick, what was the Gaz's character that she was so in love with? What was her name? Monica, right? What did you name her?
Oh, Murdonna. If you notice earlier, remember how I named my and this is just a fun fact for you because you don't know this behind the scenes, but you remember how I said I made a Promethean named Kill Milla?
Yo.
Remember that from earlier?
Yes.
And this one's named Murdonna, right?
Yes.
So, fun fact, they have the same creator. I actually brought that from the Botch pit into that game. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that behind the scenes. But they have the same, creator. It is actually in the creator's name. I'm not going to tell you yet. But yeah, no, so that character shares something with the Botch pit. Yeah, I like to do that little things every once in a while with the game. If I were to, just grab it and make a change, that's what I do. So yeah.
Nick has also been gracious and allowed me to bring a new thing in. He's allowed me to use his brainchild. So for those of you who are there, keep it.
Yeah, there's a lot of awesome things going down there. But excellent. And again, thank you all so much for being here, not only tonight, but just in general. It's just awesome having you guys here. All of us thank you. Me, Lenny, Chris. It was great seeing everyone. And yeah, awesome. Anyone have any final words they want to say?
Thank you all for doing this for us tonight. Just from the community.
No problem. We hope to do it again very, very soon.
Yeah, definitely. This is a ton of fun.
Perfect. All right, everyone. Have a good night.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
All right, good night. Stay safe, guys.
Good night.
Night all.
Bye.
Bye.